Hello, everyone. Welcome on in to finally a new week here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. The crazy schedule on the ATP Tour has ended with one tournament almost, not even over. It's almost over in Toronto. Before we even started to discuss another one in Cincinnati. Before I introduce you to, I can imagine a very not slightly happy Sean Calvert about this situation. But before I introduce you to Sean Calvert, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like, make sure you subscribe to all our shows, all our content. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button, ring that bell, and you'll be notified of every time anything drops across the channel here. And it's a busy time on the channel. The tennis is going crazy, as we're going to talk about in a minute, with the build up to the US Open. And obviously the start of the soccer leagues all across Europe will be covered here from tomorrow with the preview shows looking at the outright market. So a very exciting time to be involved in the Betting Weekly studio. So make sure you subscribe. Now, Mr. Calvert, I think it must be the first time for a long time that we sat here talking about a tournament, looking at potential winners and runners in the tournament without the other one even finishing. Crazy.
It does happen sometimes with these Masters events, but I don't know why they do it like this. The second week is really... It's quite boring, isn't it? And the first week is chaotic. I don't know why they can't spread it out in a more obvious way. I mean, there's obviously presumably financial reasons or whatever about that, but yeah, it does happen sometimes because there's too much tennis, isn't there? It's ridiculous the amount of tournaments they play and just the back to back to back to back to back. You know, we've talked about it so many times, and the players have talked about it so often. But you know, we have to work with it, and then for us, it's kind of difficult because the matches that. Some of the matches I wanted to talk about are going to be on in a few hours because we didn't have odds, and it's all a bit of a mess, unfortunately, at the minute.
Now, the action in Cincinnati starts at around about 11 o'clock today, Eastern time. But tonight we have the final, obviously, over in Toronto. Khachanov beat Shelton. Shelton put in a good performance again to beat Khachanov. I'll just give you the odds there because this is going to go at the same time as this, so we might as well give you the odds there. We won't give you a lean. Minus 186 Ben Shelton, plus 150 Khachanov. The spread there is 2.5, total 24.5. If you want to head across to the BetRivers website, have a look at that final. It's going to be tonight at 7:30. And they've played once before. Shelton won fairly comfortably this year in Indian Wells 6-3, 7-5. Impressed with Ben Shelton finally, Sean? Or
yeah,
really?
it's not that I'm not impressed with him. It's just that sometimes he just puts in really bad performances, and sometimes they're really, really great. I mean, that was a bit of a statement performance last night against Taylor Fritz. I'll comment after the final. We'll see.
Yep.
If he can keep that level up, then that's absolutely fantastic, and that puts him in with. Excuse me, my voice is a bit dodgy this time of the morning. That puts him in with a live chance, at the US Open. Not so much this week, as I'll come on to in a minute, but yeah, if he can keep that level. The problem for him is obviously doing it over 2 sets is one thing. Doing it over the best of 5 for 2 weeks to win a major, that's still a big ask for me. But it was a fabulous performance against Taylor Fritz, and as I say, if he can keep that level up, then he's going to be a danger to pretty much everybody. Maybe not the top 1 or 2, but on his day, he's a danger.
Yep, I hope he does, because we want it to be competitive. We want tennis to be competitive. And the marks the return of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, and makes the betting on Cincinnati Open not look as competitive as it should be. We're going to come on to the odds, and we're going to come on to the bracket in a little while. But before we do that, Sean, Cincinnati, it's going to be very, very hot. Conditions today was a bit cloudy. Yesterday was a bit cloudy, and a bit of rain around. But it gets hotter as the week goes on. Very humid, isn't it, here? Any other trends you found at Cincinnati when you've been delving through your portfolio of tennis results from back to the...
Yeah, lots of information, lots of trends. Should we do the conditions first? Because,
yes.
I mean, the whole complex has had a massive upgrade this year to the tune of $260 million has been spent on it. And it's totally different to what it was before, as you can imagine, with that amount of money spent on it. It's so many upgrades and new bits and new courts and all the rest of it. Doesn't help us as far as betting is concerned if they keep changing the conditions. It's still played on the same hard, true outdoor hard court surfaces Washington, D.C. and Toronto was, but it's only been played there once previously. That was last year when it was really, really fast. I have heard people say that it's slightly grittier, a little bit slower, but still low bouncing this year. I've had a look at 1 or 2 matches in qualies, but you don't really get a good feel for it in qualies. Only when the big hitters come in, the top players, you can kind of get a feel for how quick it is. I would suggest it's still going to be pretty quick here. I mean, last year, Jack Draper said that the court was insanely fast. That's his words. He said, I think it's the fastest court I've ever played on in my life. And the ball travels so fast through the court, it's hard to play good tennis. What we do know is there's 238 metres of altitude, so slightly more altitude than there was at Toronto last week. Toronto's 188, I think. And the CPI was 42.5 last year, which is fast. Not insanely fast, as Draper said, but fast. But the Wilson balls they use here, the Wilson US Open balls, they're pretty light. They fly through the air quickly, and with this altitude around as well and a decent pace court, it makes it quick. As I said, I've heard they've slowed it down slightly this year, but that's opinion. It remains to be seen. What we do know from last year, there was 82.5% holds, 75% first serve points won. 51% of the matches featured a tie break. There was quite a big trend to the over 22.5 games. 58% of them went over 22.5. Not that many gone over 10.5 in set one, only 26%. So that's what happened last year. We'll see whether that's still relevant, as in the coming days. It's quite difficult to be accurate when they have changed the whole complex. As far as underdog winners are concerned, it averages 34%. There was 37% last year. And round one has always been the best round for betting underdogs here, 38%. You would be in slight profit if you bet every underdog in the tournament over the last 9 editions for $10. You'd be $109.54 up. Now, as far as the weather's concerned, I've got 30 to 32 degrees all tournament. I don't know whether your forecast is slightly different. This was a couple of days ago when I looked at this. It's always hot here. It's in Mason, Ohio. It's hot there this time of year. A little bit humid, not insanely humid, but pretty hot. Pretty hot conditions. I don't know whether that fits with the weather forecast you've seen, but as far as the trends are concerned, there's some very interesting trends here, actually. And it concerns the back-to-back element of Canada in here. The last player to make the final of Canada and then make the final of Cincinnati was Medvedev in 2019. And the last player to win Canada and then win Cincinnati back-to-back was Rafael Nadal way back in 2013. By and large, with the odd exception being Medvedev recently, it's generally two different finalists in Cincinnati than we saw in Canada, which immediately puts a mark through the likes of Shelton and Khachanov. And, it is very difficult to back up these two tournaments. Let's take Shelton, for example. He's in the final of Toronto. He's going to be giving it his all there. He obviously wants to make a big push at the US Open. Can you really see him going all the way in Cincinnati as well? He'd be absolutely dead for the US Open. So, you've got to bear that in mind. Generally look for someone that hasn't gone super deep in Canada. Only 2 of the last 12 number one seeds has won the title here. So it's not a great tournament for number one seeds. Often they come in here straight after Wimbledon. Sometimes they've played Canada, sometimes they haven't. So it's not a tournament where you think, oh yeah, Sinner's going to win because he's the best on hard courts. Yeah, probably, but not necessarily, as those trends say. There's been lots of huge prize winners and finalists here. Borna Coric, as a lot of people will remember, won it at 300 to 1. I remember it because I had Tsitsipas, and he beat Tsitsipas in the final. He was 300 to 1 in 2022. TFO made the final last year, surviving a few final set tiebreaks along the way. He was 100 to 1. Raonic was 100 to 1 in the final in 2020 when it was played in New York because of COVID. David Goffin was an 80 to 1 finalist here. Medvedev and Dimitrov both won it at 33 to 1. Cilic won it at 40 to 1. So loads and loads of big prize winners and finalists here. And only one qualifier has made the semi-final since 1994. I'd be amazed if you knew who that was.
No, one qualifier made the final.
Only one qualifier has made the semi since 1994.
Give me. Where's he from? What country?
He retired under slightly questionable circumstances a little while ago. He's from the Ukraine.
Dolgopolov, or whatever his name
yes.
is.
What was it?
Yay! How did you pronounce his name?
Dolgopolov,
yeah. There you go.
2015, that was the only qualifier that's made the semi since 1994. So yeah, those are the conditions and the trends and the weather.
They are the trends and the conditions, and it's going to be hot. And my weather forecast is the same sort of. It was a bit rain yesterday, bit overcast today, and then gets bright, and then the rest of the week very, very hot and very, very, very humid. Interesting point you made there about the back-to-back 1000s.
Yeah.
And, fading the players here. It reminds me of Indian Wells and Miami this year.
Similar
Indian
thing,
Wells,
yeah.
the four semi-finals, Indian Wells all got beat in their first match at Miami. It was a totally different team. It's very hard to compete in back-to-back thousands, and even more so when the next tournament is the US Open. And most of these players are American. So what's their priority? Definitely Flushing Meadow. Okay, let's have a look at the draw, the all-important draw. As I said, Jannik Sinner is back. He's the number 1 seed. He's due to play Lorenzo Musetti if it goes to seedings, but Musetti is not in the greatest of form. In that bracket, you also have the likes of Diallo. You have Tommy Paul. You have Felix Auger-Aliassime, Casper Ruud, and out of form Stefanos Tsitsipas and Musetti. Remember, all the seeds get biased to round 2. The unseeded players play for the right to play the seeds, as it works out in the 1,000 events. Q2, Taylor Fritz, beaten in the semi-finals last night by Shelton. He's in there with Holger Rune if he went to seedings, alongside Sonego. You also got Borna Coric, former champion, Davidovich Fokina, who's been in good form. João Fonseca, what's happened to him? Everyone expected him to be... Well, I bet him to win the US, so I thought he'd be about 10-1. Nothing worked out. Caboli, TFO, Alex Mickelson, that is in Q2. So that completes your top half of the draw. Your bottom half of the draw, Q3, Ben Shelton. What's going to be left in the body of Ben for this week? He's in the Q3. He should be playing Alexander Zverev in the quarterfinals. In that section as well, Lehechka, Medvedev, Khachanov, Nakashima, Artur Fils. And in the bottom half of the draw, Alex de Minaur will play Carlos Alcaraz. And in that section as well, we have Mensik, Griekspoor, Popperin, Darderi, and we have Shapovalov. So, looking at that draw, is there much of an advantage between the top and the bottom?
No, not really. I mean, if I was a player other than Sinner, I would want to be in Alcaraz's half of the draw, based on what Alcaraz did here last year, which was dreadful. They lost to Monfils in the first round. It was a horrible match. So I would rather, if I was one of the top guys, I would rather be in Alcaraz's half of the draw, but not really. There's good players obviously throughout. I wouldn't say there was a harder half and a tougher half. I've just identified 2 quarters where I think there could be a big price finalist potentially.
Let's have a look at the odds to win the tournament, and then Sean will tell us where their quarters are. Jannik Sinner is the favourite at Bet Rivers at plus 110. Carlos Alcaraz is plus 175. Zverev is 12. Taylor Fritz is 15. Ben Shelton is 20. Medvedev 20. de Minaur 33. 50-1 for Fokina. 50-1 Rublev. 66-1 Casper Ruud, TFO. And 100-1 outsiders. Mickelson, Popperin, Artur Fils, Felix, and Holger Rune. Remember, you can download the Bet Rivers app. And if you have a bet on any of these matches or any of the outrights, you'll be able to bet live and watch live with Bet Rivers. So, where is the value, Mr. Calvert? You've got a couple of quarters you like the idea of. I like the idea of fading Alcaraz here as well, plus 175. And I've got a couple of people I quite like aren't even on the list here. On the betting, I can't believe. I reckon producer John's made a mistake. One of them's got to be on the list. But anyway, what do you got?
Producer John doesn't make mistakes. I mean, we'll.
No. Sorry, I should never have said that. But I think he has.
Okay, well,
no, he hasn't. He's decided. One of the guys I like is 100-1. He decided not to put them on that list.
I think there's a lot at 100-1. Yeah. I've forgotten the question now. What was it? The quarters.
Where's the value? Where's the value?
It doesn't take long for me to get put off if someone just says something.
The most important question on the whole show. Yeah. Where do we go for value?
I mean,
Sean?
Q1. I don't really. Who's going to beat Jannik Sinner in Q1? I mean, the seeds are vulnerable early doors. Generally, as Alcaraz showed last year. But Sinner's got, Capriva? I don't know who Capriva's playing, actually, but Capriva or one of the qualifiers in the round 1. Yeah, maybe Diallo in the next round. It would take, a special performance from Diallo, wouldn't it, to beat Sinner? Doesn't seem that likely. And if he then beats Diallo, then he's got Tommy Paul, who's apparently, I've heard, has got a hernia. So he hasn't played at all since, I think it's Wimbledon. So it's a tall order asking Tommy Paul to come in. If he has got a hernia, then even if he hasn't, he's not played any tennis for a long time. It's a tall order. Thomas Mahak is interesting. He can play lights out tennis. He's perhaps the one that, if you want one at a massive price in Q1, maybe go with him. But he's cost me a few times this season with illnesses, injuries. Doesn't seem to be able to complete a tournament. That's what kind of puts me off here. But Casper Ruud, you think it was too quick for him. Felix will probably win this week after I put him up last week. If you like the sort of Sod's Law element, that's a possibility. Tsitsipas, it's hard to see it, isn't it? He looks completely gone at the minute. Musetti, I would have thought it was too quick for him here as well. So Sinner, it's annoying, but it looks like a pretty winnable quarter for him. I can't see any huge dangers there. I say Mahak on his absolute best form, probably the one. But Q2 for me looks really interesting. And I'm going to take Holger Rune here at 100 to 1. I was quite surprised he was that big, actually. He made the semi-finals here last year, Holger Rune. Should have made the final, incidentally. Lost in a final set tiebreak to TFO. I think he was 5-2 up in that final set. Bit of a choke from Rune there. So he should have made the final last year instead of TFO, really. So he can play in these conditions. It's not the case. People associate Rune with clay, but yes, he's a decent on clay, but I think fast conditions are just as good for him. He's, as I said, made the semis here last year when it was lightning quick. He's won Paris on indoor hard. Made the final of Brisbane, Basel. Those are all pretty quick conditions. I don't see that being an issue for him at all. And when he's been fit, he's been playing pretty well this season. But he's another one that's you can never be sure whether he's fit or not. He's been knocking on the door. He made the final at Indian Wells Masters 1000 level. Obviously slower conditions, but still a hard court. Beat Carlos Alcaraz to win Barcelona. So the level is there. The fitness is a worry, obviously, with the heat and stuff. But as I said, he almost made the final here last year, and I can't imagine it was cool last year either. So very good chance, I would say, at 100 to 1. If you're looking at the other guys, Fritz played a lot of tennis. Doesn't have a particularly good record here either, Taylor Fritz. I think let's have a look. He is 7-7 here, win-loss. Never passed the quarter-finals here, Taylor Fritz. Again, he's one where you would think that eyes on the US Open for sure. Davidovich Fokina is in great form, but he retired last week because he's played a lot of tennis as well. And he'll potentially have Fonseca in the first round, but those two elements are what puts me off Davidovich a little bit. TFO, I think, was fortunate to make the final here last year, escaped a couple of really tight matches, final set tie breaks, not playing that well, TFO. Wouldn't be surprised if he came and brought it this week, but I think it's tough to see him making back-to-back finals here. Humbert does not like playing in North America at all. He's got stomach digestive issues. He complains about the food. He doesn't like the noise. It's an issue for him. So I think that's a winnable quarter for Holger Rune. So I'm taking him there at 100 to 1. Now, as far as the Q3 is concerned, as I've said, Ben Shelton, I think, he has to be a fade this week. He was talking about being fatigued even before this week in Toronto. He's still got the final to play. He had kinesio tape on his leg last night playing against Taylor Fritz. It's difficult to see him, although he would want to, I'm sure. It's difficult to see him going deep again, just so close to the US Open. Medvedev's out of form. Khachanov's the other finalist there. As I said, back-to-back finals is rare here. Feast is interesting, but I don't think he's fit. He's only played one match in numerous months. Zverev looks mentally shot. Again, failed with a match point last night against Khachanov. Just looks like when the going gets tough, he just fades these days, Zverev. So for me, Lehechka is the one here that is very interesting at 100 to 1. He beat Artur Fils in Canada, then lost a very, very tight one to Taylor Fritz, 7-6, 6-7, 7-6, I think it was. The worry for him, for me, would have been Shelton, because I'm not, as I said, I'm not totally convinced about Lehechka against big servers, but Shelton for me now, it's a tall order for him to make it as far as to play Lehechka. He's got a strong pedigree in fast conditions. We know that, Lehechka. He was another one that was unlucky last year against TFO. He was another guy that lost to TFO in a final set tiebreak. He also beat Medvedev here last year, and he would play Medvedev in, I think, round 3. So definite potential for Lehechka in a quarter that I think is massively open. So Q2 and Q3 are the quarters that I like here. As far as Q4 is concerned, it's all about Alcaraz, really. It's hard to see him being as bad this year in Cincy as he was last year. I mean, you would think he would have learned some lessons, maybe changed something in his preparation or whatever, but is some of it about fatigue? French Open final, French Open 1, obviously, and Wimbledon final. It's a lot. We'll see how he goes. But in Q4, I'm not sold on anybody that I think will beat him. Popirin's interesting after his return to form. Shapovalov and Mensik are dangerous. Greek Spor's dangerous, but there's Diminor for me isn't playing well at the minute. He's playing all right, but his serving isn't that good. I don't think he's in the same sort of hardcourt form he was in earlier this season. So Q4, nothing for me. But yeah, Q2 and Q3 are the ones where I'm going to attack this.
So there are two 100-1 shots from Sean each way with Bet Rivers. Holgaroon, I thought played really well last week. He was brilliant against Impechi Perigord. Great in the second round. Then he got beat by Popyrin. And also we have Lehechka, Jiri Lehechka in the bottom half of the draw at 100-1. I quite like Mencic. I know keep pretty mentioning, but I got the feeling that the Alcaraz could be vulnerable this week, so I quite like Mencic. I like Popyrin as well, and Artur Feast. I thought if he's fit, fitness there, but there's a few 100-1 shots that we like there for all those 100-1. So we're looking for a big price finalist. That'd be lovely. Get a big price finalist, 50-1 winner. Doesn't matter, just to get the finals 50-1, and then probably be playing Yannick Sinner, and we'll probably be 33-1 in the final. But anyway, we want to get to someone through to the final. It'd be great. As I said, head across to the BetRivers website to make sure you check out all the odds on these matches, and the tournament starts at 11 o'clock. Today, so they'll probably suspend the outright market, and then they'll be back to look at the outright again tomorrow. So our first match is this evening over here. I think it's 4:30 local time. It's Jordan Thompson up against Adrian Mannarino. Now, Jordan Thompson is -150 to win this. Mannarino is +120. It's a 1.5 spread and 22.5 total. If you look at the head-to-head, there is a lot to go by. They've met 9 times before, these two. First time back in 2017, where Mannarino won in straight sets. In 2024 was their last match, which Thompson won in straight sets. Lots of matches in between. Last time out, Mannarino had a good win to get qualification here, and Thompson hasn't been seen since he got beat by Taylor Fritz, retired from Taylor Fritz with an injury back in last month, a month ago, more or less a month ago to the day. So, Thompson worrying about his injury, -150 against Mannarino's got a win here at +120. Quite like those odds on the Frenchman.
Yeah, I think you can chance your arm on Mannarino here at these prices. It just looks a tough situation for Thompson. He was injured at Wimbledon. I talked about it numerous times. I posed him a couple of times, and he managed to win. And then the next round, he retired, which is what I wanted him to do a couple of rounds earlier. But he hasn't played since. He's had so many injuries this season. I mentioned it loads of times at Wimbledon. Pretty much everything that could go wrong with his body has gone wrong this season. Retired at Wimbledon, skipped Los Cabos, Washington, Toronto. Is he fit now? He's had so many injuries this season. And now he's playing a guy in Mannarino who's a tough matchup for him, and someone that is a battle hardened, if you like, on the hard courts. He's played sort of half a dozen matches in this swing already, and he's played pretty well since making the final again of Newport, which has now been downgraded to a challenger on the grass. He's a confidence player, Mannarino. He's won every match bar 1 or 2 since then. Shelton was the one that beat him in, was it Washington, D.C.? Toronto, actually. But that was a tough situation for Mannarino. But if you look at that match, he basically got blown away by the Shelton first serve, because he won the same number of second serve points as Shelton that day, 62%. So it was the Shelton first serve that did all the damage. Thompson's not got a big enough serve. He's certainly not in that category. His serve's decent, but it's not Shelton-like. And he's obviously come through the qualies very, very comfortably, Mannarino. So he's the one that's attuned to these conditions, is match fit, is match sharp. Thompson quite clearly isn't. And the head-to-head does favour Mannarino anyway, across all those matches in their career. Mannarino leads 101.4 to 98.6 in terms of service points won and return points won totals. Just been a little bit better both on serve and return, Mannarino, in this matchup. Mannarino has actually held serve 82% of the time against Thompson. Thompson only held serve 75% of the time. Mannarino's creating more break points. So he's had the better of the matchup over the course of the whole career. The question obviously is, does Mannarino still have it at 37? Well, the way he played against Marcos Giron last week and the way he's come through qualifying here would suggest that, yeah, he probably still does have it just about enough in quick conditions. You've got to have the right conditions for Mannarino. Set one's gone over 10.5 games in 4 of their last 6 meetings. It has been tight. Even the last one that Thompson won was 7-5, 7-6. He'll fancy this, Mannarino, having come through qualies. He'll know Thompson's been struggling with injuries. He'll know Thompson's not match fit and not match fit, but he's not match ready. Hasn't played a match since Wimbledon. So +120, Mannarino, yeah, I'll take that, yeah.
Mannarino is the bet for Sean. First bet at the Cincinnati 1000. Adrian Mannarino at plus 120 with Bet Rivers. Download the app, get across to the website, and if you do have a bet, you'll be able to bet live and watch live. This match will be live streamed to your tablet or your mobile device. Let's move on to our second match. The young American Colton Smith up against Fabian Marozsan. Colton Smith's been in great form in Cincinnati. He's had 2 big wins in qualification, a win against Schoolgate and then a very good win against Bachelasvili yesterday. He's up against Marozsan, who last time we saw was beaten in the third round by Caboli at Toronto. They've never met before, so no head-to-head to go by here. But Marozsan is a favourite at minus 188, probably by the name and what he's done in his career. But Colton Smith in form, plus 150. Spread 2.5. Total here again is 22.5 with Bet Rivers with the under the favourite at minus 122. Don't know much about Colton Smith, but I do know he cost me money yesterday when I bet Bachelasvili to beat him, and he didn't. He played really well, actually, especially in the set number 2. Bachelasvili give up a little bit, but Colton Smith looked a decent player.
Yeah, Basil was a bit injured, wasn't he? I think he had a back issue. A little bit unlucky there if you bet Bachelasvili, but Colton Smith's playing really, really well. You know, he qualified, as you said, very, very nicely. It should be a test for Marozsan. Colton Smith he's aggressive player, likes to serve big, likes to go for it. Marozsan does not do well against big servers. You know, in conditions like this, I think he's got a decent chance, having come through qualies. You know, I think it's a decent advantage to come through qualies in these conditions and play against guys that have come from, you know, totally different set of conditions in Canada. You know, he's got a big aggressive game, Smith. If he hits his spots, he's got, for me, a decent chance of winning at least the first set. I don't know whether he'll win the match. I'm going to attack the first set here. If we look at what Smith's done in the last 12 months at main level, he's not had that many opportunities, but he's done pretty well. 38% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 97.2. It's pretty decent, and a lot of those matches were on clay as well in Houston. Marozsan, slightly better as you'd expect, 51% win rate and a 99.5 total, but he's not miles ahead by any means. As I said, several of Smith's matches were on clay, but it was quick clay in Houston, and he made the quarterfinals there. Played well. For me, he's better in quick conditions, though. Played well on grass this summer. Challenger level, made the final in Birmingham. Then the following week, he had to qualify in Nottingham, made it all the way to the semis there from the quali draw. So he's a guy that does relish the quick conditions, and the stats that he's produced in qualies here are pretty decent as well. 82% first serve points won, and only broken twice in 4 sets by Schoolgate and Bachelasvili, 2 very, very good players. Schoolgate's been in good form recently as well. But perhaps the clincher for me is that Marozsan's lost every single match he's played against the big servers in my database. 0-8 win-loss, and he's only won 1 set in 16 sets played. So that suggests a weakness against someone that can serve big in quick conditions. Smith will certainly do that. He'll come out aggressive. He should be the one, as I say, that's attuned to these conditions. The ball does fly in Cincinnati. It's not easy to play here, especially early on. So I'm going to take Smith to win the opening set here, plus 125. I think that's a decent set of odds.
Yeah, Smith plus 125 with Bet Rivers. There'll be about 55 different, probably 35 different markets. 55 in round 2, 35 for round 1. 35 different markets available with Bet Rivers on this match. By the time it starts, it will start around about 4:30 today. So you've got to get across earlier. It's Eastern time, about 4:30 today. If you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine, which will be out on Friday. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. So today, this afternoon, make sure you subscribe to the newsletter, bettingweeklystudios.com. You'll get an almanac guide to the new soccer seasons, a load of stuff, a load of picks from all the handicappers here, maybe some tennis picks as well if we've got the time on there as well. But tomorrow, bettingweeklystudios.com is where you want to go. You'll get your insider into your inbox. I'm getting the days confused because I don't know what day it is because of the ATP Tour calendar. That is why I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's move on to our penultimate match. It's Borna Coric up against Emilio Nava. Coric, as we said, and this match is tomorrow, so we do not know the start time yet, but it is tomorrow. Coric is a former champion here. He is obviously not in that kind of form at the moment. Only 1 win from 4 matches on the hard court this year. He's up against Emilio Nava, a player that has done us a couple of favours. He did well for us over in, I think it's at Washington. He but won through. Les
Cabos,
Cabos, he won for us. Les Cabos won through. And he's also come through qualification here. 2 good wins against Kukushkin and Navone. But Bet Rivers make it a pick and match, -110, the pair of them. A spread is 1.5, but obviously with a pick and match, you can go one way or the other. And the total here is 22.5. Coric, not the player he once was, obviously a former champion here, was very disappointing in his last match, the first round defeat in Toronto. And Nava is a player that I've been quite impressed with in the fall.
He's playing well, Nava. I think I would make Nava favourite here, personally. Coric is another one that doesn't really like facing big servers. Nava does have a very aggressive game, similar to Smith, I suppose, in some ways. He goes for it, Nava. He doesn't hang about. He just goes for it. And that, he's got big power, so that this could be a problem for Borna Coric. As you said, he's in great form at the minute. He's won 5 of his last 6 matches, this hard court swing. All right, some of those are in qualies, but the only one he lost was in 3 sets against Khachanov last week. And, we've seen that Khachanov's made it all the way to the final, so no disgrace there. Also lost in 3 sets to Rublev in Los Cabos. So he's in prime form of his career, you could probably argue. If you look at what he's done last 10 matches on outdoor hard this summer swing, he's won 7 of his 10. Okay, a couple of them were in qualies or whatever, but he's won 7 out of 10. He's got service points won over 10 points, won total of 102. He's won 79% of his first serve points, 0.85 aces per game, and 84% holds a serve. And some of those matches were in slow conditions in Los Cabos. Here, where it's quicker, you would expect his serve to be even more effective. He was only broken once in 4 sets in qualies, won 80% on first serve. Coric, for me, never been convinced about him against big servers. He's won 7 and lost 10 of his matches on outdoor hard against the big servers in my database. And he's coming in here lacking matches, lacking rhythm. His career has been blighted by injuries. His recent hard court form, when he has played on hard, is poor. He's got nowhere near the numbers that I've just talked about with Nava. Nowhere near. I think his service points won over 10 points, won total was 93 or 94. I've actually deleted that now by accident, so I can't tell you what it is, but it was roughly 93 or 90.
Mid-90s.
Yeah, nowhere near the level that Nava's playing at the minute. But perhaps more importantly than a lot of that is the fact that he's only played 1 match in 2 months. Injuries, as I said, have really blighted his career. Unfortunately for him, 1 match in 2 months, and that was against Gigante last week, which he ended up losing. So he hasn't got that match rhythm. He's not going to get that much rhythm against Nava. As I said, he likes to play quick points. Nava, he doesn't like to hang about too much. So all that considered, I think -110 is pretty decent.
Yeah, Emilio Nava is our bet. Another official play. It's 3 official plays so far. -110 with Bet Rivers. That is tomorrow. So you've got a bit of time to there, but I think the line might move on that. So Nava is the bet. So if you do want to get on, you want to get across to the Bet Rivers app nice and early to make sure you can take that -110 price. Okay, our final match is 2 old favourites of the show. Jaume, we talk about him, but I think we must talk about Jaume more than any other player on the tour. Francisco Comesana, we speak about him on these big tournaments. He's a big game player. He likes the big opportunity to go on the big tournaments, and he's got a big tournament here in the 1000. Looking at their record this year and looking at their recent record, it's pretty much identical. Their last 6-match record is more or less identical. But there's a big discrepancy on the price. Jaume is -286, Comesana is +220, spread 3.5. Total here is 22.5. There has been some early nibbles in the market for Comesana, and he's down to that +220 with Bet Rivers. I think they opened up a little bit bigger than that. But Jaume is a popular player. As we've always said, his stats are better than what the odds suggest. But I think Bet Rivers have gone a bit mad on this price, -286 for Munar.
Yeah, I couldn't possibly bet Munar at that price. Yeah, he's been nibbled at, as you said. Comesana, he was 3.4 plus 240 this morning, very, very early this morning when I looked at this, when the prices first came out. So, yeah, it just looks a bad price, doesn't it, on Munar? I mean, Comesana's been struggling for form, but -286, not for me. We know that Comesana can play on the quicker surfaces. I've talked about him quite a few times on this show. Strong showings last year, Wimbledon, beat Rublev there. US Open as well, beat Humbert there. So he's beaten some very good players on the quicker surface. He's also beaten some very good players on clay. He is a bit of a bit of an inconsistent one, Comesana. Sometimes you just get these kind of tame performances from him. He has been out of form recently, which is why the prices are how they are. But in these quick conditions, his serve is a very, very good weapon. I've mentioned before, his first serve is very effective and often underrated. He's still won 73% of first serve points in the last year away from clay in 11 matches, even though he only won 3 of them. So his first serve is still a very, very good weapon. He's won more first serve points than Munar has, and Munar's been serving really well in the last sort of year. Certainly this season anyway. Munar wins 71.5% of his first serve points away from clay. So Comesana serve has been even better. It's a bit of a hot dog pick this for me, but I just think it's a match that the layers wouldn't expect to go set one overs, given that the assumption is that these two are both clay guys. And Comesana has struggled on return. He's only won 32% of return points. So if he serves as well as he can in these conditions and he still isn't returning that much, not doing much on return, that's probably where I would go here. I'd take the plus 215 about set one over 10.5 games here. I'm also slightly tempted to have a little nibble on Comesana on the money line because he is one of those players that on his day, he's got a very high level. It's just that we never know when his day is going to be. And Munar wasn't that great last week against Cerundolo. A lot of mistakes. And Cerundolo wasn't fit. You know, he had a ab issue and he's withdrawn from this tournament. So, yeah, definitely not sold on the minus 286. I'd probably take a little chance on the set one overs, but maybe a bit of pizza money on Comesana. Either way, that's the way to attack that, I think.
Couple of leans on our final match there, Comesana against Munar, but we do have 3 official picks for today and tomorrow. Now, remember, there's lots of tennis action on the Bet Rivers app. The tournament in Cincinnati starts at 11 a.m. today. So if you want to bet one of those 101 shots, you've got to get on before 11 a.m. because the market will be suspended. Hopefully this podcast drops in time. But if not, the market will reopen tomorrow and our players will still be in contention, but the odds may change slightly. The matches start 11 a.m. They go through all throughout the day, all the round 1 matches. And then we have the final over in Canada as well in Toronto at 7:30 p.m. between Khachanov and Shelton. So a busy day of tennis action, lots of stuff. We're trying to do the best we can here to have it covered for you. And it's a busy week here on the Betting Weekly studio. So please hit the subscribe button. Betting Weekly Tennis Live will be back next week, Monday through to Wednesday. Betting Weekly Live, Monday through to Friday, giving you all the best bets on the world of sport. And the American Hardball and Fast Break, our American shows covering baseball and basketball, will be live throughout the afternoon as well. So loads of content here on the channel. On Friday, we have a very special show. We have a preview of the new Premier League season, looking at all the best futures with the team, all the handicappers, as well as the futures as well across all the major leagues in Europe. So if you're a serious soccer bettor or you're a serious tennis bettor, this is the channel for you. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and enjoy it. I also mentioned earlier about the Insider and our newsletter. If you enjoy our shows, please get extra content by subscribing to the newsletter at bettingweeklystudios.com. And this weekend's newsletter will be out on Friday, and it's a bumper edition with tennis. There's going to be soccer and all loads of different sports. With some big previews coming up. The US Open, we have to start the college football, we have the NFL, and all the Premier League matches covered in that Insider as well. So please subscribe to that at bettingweeklystudios.com. Sean, before we go, what are your 3 official plays for Cincinnati this week?
On the matches, do you want me to do the outrights?
On the matches. Yep, the matches. We did matches and outrights. Did the matches and the outrights.
Okay, so the matches, first one, Mannarino to beat Thompson, plus 120. The second one, Colton Smith to win the opening set against Marozsan, plus 125. And Emilio Nava to beat Coric at minus 110. The outrights, 200 to 1 shots each way, obviously. Lehechka and Rune, both 100 to 1 each way.
Yeah, some big prices for you there as well. And a tournament's dominated by Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner at the top end of the market. 83% chance that they're one of those win the tournament, 17% the field. What are you taking?
Well, I'm taking the 2. I'm taking the 17%.
But you got... Yeah, we've got 13%. Anyway, that is it. Been it for Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. We'll be back over the weekend again, looking at the action in Cincinnati and what is going to be a real busy period of tennis betting here. Make sure you cover the countdown to the US Open continues here on the fastest growing sports betting YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Betting Weekly Studios. Take care. All the best.